It's Brian Preston, the Money Guy.
Let's move on to Hong Yu's question. Do you recommend investing in international stocks? I have international funds for several years and they have always underperformed. So how do you guys generally approach asset allocation?
Yeah, so international is a really unique question. I'm going to speak more to diversification. Why do we diversify? It's for the reason you've heard us mention on this show before. None of us know what tomorrow's going to be. We don't know where the opportunity tomorrow is going to exist. So we believe that when we think about our army of dollar bills and when we have the ability to spread them out over a number of different asset classes, we can reduce our risk. Even in how we spread out across the risk asset classes. Maybe if we're buying domestically, we might buy large domestic companies, or we might buy small domestic companies. We might buy real estate. We might buy commodities. When we buy international, we might buy developed markets. We might buy emerging markets. When we think about fixed income, we diversify there, because if we can spread out the different pieces and parts of our portfolio, we have the belief that over time, risk adjusted, there's going to be less volatility inherent in that portfolio. We diversify as a means and mechanism to do one of two things. Either reduce risk, add more risk-reduced, risk-off assets, or just generally different types of assets, or potentially enhance return. I think a lot of people have fallen into the trap recently, Brian. I was saying, hey, I've seen this one asset class that's dominated for the last 10 years. I'm going to put all of my money in that. Or, hey, I've heard about these 5 companies, these teeth companies. I am just going to only go buy those because they've done really, really well.
You mean the fangs?
I know, it's a joke. I see, I'm dropping these little subtle jokes in there to see if people catch it.
I don't even know if that's a dad joke or a financial nerd joke.
No, that's
okay,
a good
keep
one.
going, keep going.
That's a good one. And people say, I'm just going to go buy these things. Well, the problem is past performance is not indicative of future performance, and that cuts both ways. Just because something has done really, really well in the past does not guarantee it will do really, really well moving forward. And just because something has done really, really poor in the past does not mean that it will not do really, really poor moving forward. So you have to have an educated approach to how you do asset allocation and diversification. I'm of the opinion, this is what I'd love for you to speak to it, Brian, a little bit. When you need to start thinking about that is different for each person. Like, if you're someone starting out your journey, should you even be thinking about diversification and asset allocation and focusing on those things? Or are there other things that you should be focusing on? And are there solutions that might potentially even make it easier for you?
Yeah, I mean, what you're getting at is that I think when you're young especially, your savings rate is so much more important than the asset allocation and where you're putting the money in. We love index funds, and we love indexed target retirement funds because they allow you just to answer 2 questions. How much can I save? When do I need the money? They do all the hard work because while you're young, they're super aggressive, including probably greater than 25% in international. I mean, a lot of these, the funds actually are getting close to 30, even 40%. But it's one of those things where you save, how much can I save? When do I need it? And then as you get older, it gets more and more conservative. I do want to, because I want to make sure people know we stay relevant. We know what Hong Yu is talking about here in the fact that I often wonder what Jack Bogle thinks about Vanguard, because Jack made famous that he told people, I don't buy international. I don't like it. But yet Vanguard, if you go look at their target retirement fund, which is a great indexed fund that you can choose, once again, how much can you save? When do you need it? But they are heavy in international. Yep. And it's one of those things, and I know international has been a low performer for over a decade. I mean, it's one of those things you keep asking yourself, when is this thing going to turn? But it is one of those things where I think that you use this as a diversifier. You don't get crazy with it. And it's, and there is a potential with the globalization. I always talk about how human condition of the law of accelerating returns is that we as humans are always looking to innovate. We're looking to expand. We're looking for technology and other opportunities. And you got to look at the world in general and say, hey, there's a lot of people that, I'm amazed. I went on a catamaran cruise with some neighbors for 7 days. And I probably shouldn't say this out loud because I'm going to blow a bunch of people's work cover. we had great internet the entire time we were everywhere on that catamaran down in the most remote places. And I started thinking about when my friends go to other continents and how much internet access you have is that there's a lot of opportunity in the long term. Now, I know, look, the last decade has been rough. There's crazy geopolitical stuff that's influenced it, but don't get caught up in the minutia. I think if you can just stay consistent with always be buying, don't get, focus on what you can control. You will be successful. I don't know if I covered that well. And then I think even if you're one of those people that takes Jack Bogle's approach to this, more and more of the United States, the S&P 500, 40% of the S&P 500 last time I looked was still coming from global operations of those companies. So there's potential there internationally. It's just, man, I'm counting on, you always hear about clocks, even when they're wrong or the battery runs out, they're right twice a day. You're hoping, man, I sure hope that international gets some sunshine on it soon, because we'd love to see that for our clients as well as everybody who's in those index target retirement funds. You definitely will be rewarded, hopefully, for your patience on this. But that doesn't mean you just throw it out just because that recency bias or that overconfidence that you've got this thing figured out based upon looking at historical charts. Be careful, because investing can be a very humbling process.